name is Ellen Wyoming. I am a community engagement specialist for the Parks and Nature program at Metro, which is our regional government. That sounds like a lot of jargon. I talk to people in the public and I help them know that they have parks accessible to them. And what I really do is I help park planners connect with diverse communities to make sure that people have equal access to nature. And that's a really big push here in our region recently. But I'm not here to talk to you about my job. I think that my background is actually a little bit more diverse than just my job currently. My mom is an immigrant. She came from South Korea. I grew up in a Korean-American household, and Don touched a little bit on diversity and diversifying the workforce, and I think that's a little bit more of the big picture of what I do, because I'm one of a smaller amount of minorities that work for the regional government, and it is challenging, because there are ways of being in the workforce when the dominant paradigm is still largely Caucasian and operates in this very, and I know science is analytical, so I think that you're all in the right space for it, but a very analytical, thinking-led, kind of like Western hierarchy. I don't want to dive in too deeply, but there's a lack of space for ways of being that you may have grown up with. I have a very passionate, emotional, and vibrant mother, and my Korean family, I don't know who here might be Korean or have a Korean background, but it's very loud when you go to family gatherings. And it's a lot of laughing, and like people are physical. You think it's funny, you like kind of push somebody over because you're like, get out of here, no way. But like if I do that at work, it's like, I'm sorry, that's my personal bubble space, that's a zone that you're not allowed to touch. How do I be? And so it took me a while to figure out that I had a ownership and a place in my workplace. And I had been working on it. And what was really interesting, I know you guys are doing a lot of stuff on mentoring, and I know that my good friend Yvonne Chang is going to be here Thursday and Friday in this morning session to talk about sort of like what it means to be a person from a community of color, to be mentored. But for me, it was really interesting. My progress, I tended to find, because I wanted to be successful, I was like, who do I need for a mentor? So I had a lot of older white guy mentors that I went and sought out and be like, tell me the tools, how am I successful, what do I need to do to make it to the top? Like, I'm 33 years old, I have senior in my job title, I'm paid over $60,000, over $70,000 a year right now. I feel very successful. How do I get here? Well, what I realized is when I actually started listening to where I came from inside and owning that Koreanness, owning that Polishness, because I'm also half Polish, owning all of that, that is what drove my bus forward. I didn't need to listen to the former executive of Hewlett-Packard, who I met on a backpacking trip, for him to tell me how to be successful. I didn't need to work consistently with the former economic development director of a city to have him tell me how to be successful. I had to listen to myself and offer what I had to be successful. And I think that that is one of the most important things you guys have inside of you that our society is so, pardon my French, fucking thirsty for. They are so thirsty for your energy, your background, your culture, your diversity. Standing here in front of this room makes me feel so happy that 2042 and that majority-minority flip in the United States is going to happen, is happening. Because we're finally going to have, I mean, I'm a little emotional, but we're going to have that space to be who we are. Raise your hand if you feel similarly. Am I right? Are we right? I want to hear you say it. Are we right?
Yes.
Right. So what I wanted to touch on a little bit with you this morning was emotional health, because like Don mentioned, it can be a little bit challenging to go into the workforce, because when you're on your own and you know that you're, sometimes also you have a diversity that people can't see. I have a very good friend, her name is Sheila, she's Cuban American, but she looks very Caucasian, and we were at an event for Latinas a couple months ago, and she was visibly one of the few Caucasian looking women in the room, and another woman came up to her and was like, I just love learning about Latino culture. I just find it so fascinating, don't you? And she sat there and she was just like, I'm Cuban. You know, and it's like, so we have to also figure out how do we walk in the world and we don't look like we're necessarily coming from some different or alternative or diverse background from what is dominant. I think that's also really important to be able to own that and be proud and confident to say, you know, actually, I'm Cuban American and this is how I grew up. I'm so glad that you're interested in my culture. And letting other people know that just because you have blonde hair and blue eyes doesn't mean that you don't represent something different. And I think that's also really important to know. It's something that I've learned as I've grown and worked with people. But getting back to emotional health, and you're like, oh my gosh, she's gonna go tell us to like go meditate, do yoga, climb on top of a mountain. And you can, those things are really great and really helpful. But I wanna actually talk about the core pieces of it, because that's all external stuff. I have to do yoga to feel good. I have to climb a mountain to feel good. I have to, I don't know, like make sure I meditate for an hour a day saying Om to feel good. And that's not true. You can feel good being you. And so what I want to ask you, and this is where it's actually not me talking to you anymore, how do you feel when you're feeling good? How do you feel? What's happening in your body?
Relax.
Relax. What does relaxed feel like?
Carefree.
Carefree. Yeah.
Childlike.
Say it again.
Childlike.
Childlike. How many of you have kids? Yeah, isn't it awesome to watch your kids and be like, they're not stressed out at all? Or maybe they are, maybe you have teenagers. Yeah.
You feel warm.
You feel warm. I like this. So it's warm, relaxed, childlike. How else do you feel when you feel good? Say it again.
Peaceful.
Peaceful. So can anyone share with me a specific memory they might have of feeling good? Something that they were just like sitting inside of, feeling good.
Last night, I got in my bed.
That feels amazing. You got like crisp sheets, you got a nice comforter over you, maybe the window's open, it's a little hot outside, you got a nice fresh cool breeze going through. Can all of you close your eyes right now and like, wait, who doesn't like crawling into fresh, clean sheets with a nice breeze? Who doesn't like that? Okay, so everyone close your eyes and go ahead and imagine that that's happening right now. You walk into your room, the temperature is perfect, your eyes are open, close your eyes. You pull back the sheets, you get inside, you feel that crispness on your skin, right? Take a deep breath. That fresh night air feels amazing. Raise your hand if thinking about that makes you feel good. See? You have the tools inside of you all the time. And it's probably not as easy to do that when you just had a really intense interaction and your heart is racing and you're kind of mad and you want to go yell at somebody and like all those things are happening. But when you notice that happening, you can say, okay, I gotta go take a walk or do whatever it is you do. And then like, I kind of want you to think about getting into bed and turning off the thinking. Because what happens when we get upset or angry? Let's talk about that for a second, but I don't want anyone to go into a rage test. Yeah.
Stop thinking.
Stop thinking. What happens? What happens to your body when you get angry?
Blood pressure goes up.
Blood pressure goes up. What else? What do you feel like?
Tense.
Tense. Everything constricts and tightens. How does your chest feel? Tight, or heart is beating. How does your neck feel? Stiff, or for me it's like hot and tingly back here sometimes, right? None of that feels very, I'm actually getting kind of the, how many of you feel kind of yucky right now just thinking about it? You gotta like shake it out. And so that, it takes a while to wind down from that. How many of you have been really mad before? Yeah, and how many of you have been really mad because it was something you couldn't control? Can you guys share with me some of the coping mechanisms? Like what are some of the things that you've done when you've gotten really pissed off? Yeah.
Punching bag.
Say it again.
Punching bag.
Punching bag. I did punching bag workout for the first time in 2 years on Sunday. It felt awesome. I didn't want to hit anybody. My friends like, oh, it was so great. What else?
Handstands.
Handstands?
Yeah, blood rushes.
The blood
to-
rushes.
It drains everything.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Come to the bathroom and splash water on my face.
Splashing. Oh, cool. Literally helping yourself cool off. Definitely. What else? Yes.
Have conscious breathing.
So
Everywhere.
getting oxygen.
Be regular and slowing your breathing down.
Yeah, breathing, it also keeps you from thinking or talking. You have to focus on breathing deeply.
downloading to a friend and having them tell you, yeah, I would have been really mad too.
Yeah, commiserating, like having someone support, validate your anger. That's really helpful. What else?
Jog.
Say it again.
Jog.
Going for a run. Yeah. What else?
Wait and send that email later.
Email too soon. I'm so guilty of that. Do you have one?
Listen to my favorite song or crack open a book that I'm gonna watch it, something like that.
Perfect. So we had one more, yeah.
A lot of times I think about what the problem is and if, like whether or not I can fix something, if there's a strategy I can use, and if it's something that I can't control, trying to let it go.
Okay. So what I'm hearing here is a lot of things that we use to divert our attention from that which makes us angry into something that makes us good. And a lot of them are things we can do ourselves, like that deep breathing, doing for a run. Squash, yes?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You might be getting to this, but what do you do if you're angry and you're at work? You can't just go for a run, or you can't just pop into a headstand, or you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is where this is where I'm going. Like it's that really delicate thing of, and maybe it's good you're going into research and it's good you're in the sciences because you have to do a lot of practice around that, trial and error. And a lot of that is that practice because you actually own all of those tools inside. And so when you did just have that thing you need to wind down a little bit, you probably can go for a walk outside the building. I have had to do that many a time with a friend to go commiserate about what that did just happen, and I gotta go for a walk around this building to talk about it right now. I need to actually go get a coffee or maybe a drink because it's 4:30. And I do that and then leave a half an hour early because I'm upset. But you have to learn, and you don't have to learn. I would like to ask you to think about practicing.
Well, no, we didn't hear Daisy's question.
Oh, you didn't have a question. I'm so sorry.
I was just asking, like, if you're at work and, you know, like you're in an area where you can't just go for a run or pop in a headstand or like,
Yeah. So there's those things, and kind of you're making me actually think about. So I work in a really traditional government office. I'm fortunate that I have a team of pretty diverse individuals, and we just kind of ignore sometimes the protocol of how one should be at work, and this is something that I wouldn't advocate strongly if you think you actually might get fired. But I have popped into headstands at work 6 times that I can think of in the past 3 months. Just also because it feels good, not even because I'm mad, just because it feels good to like stretch upside down. And my colleague, a white guy, has taken a nap under his desk for 20 minutes for a power nap because he does creative work and his brain needs a break. And so he does that. I've sat in my chair and closed my eyes, you know, and we're not lazy, but we're giving ourselves this space to take a break, and we're letting people in the room that we work in cubicles, we're not in an office, know that, hey, taking care of yourself while at work is okay. And I encourage you to do the same thing, follow my lead. So we can be leaders in that emotional health when we're in the workplace, and I think that's really important. And what I wanted to say around the practice piece was, after you've calmed down enough that your heart is not pumping and your neck is not tight and your body has relaxed a little bit, I want you to think about getting into bed. You could literally, if you're pretty close to your house, go do it. Or you could like do that imagination piece, right, where you're just like, God, I'm so mad, but I need to think about something good right now. And the best thing I can think of is really, sometimes it's hard to think of a really good thought, something like an automatic go-to. It's kind of a meditation. You got to think about like those clean white sheets, or maybe they're red or purple or whatever. You get under your sheets, you pull up your comforter, you open that window in your brain, and you let yourself relax there. Like give yourself 5 minutes to relax there and see if that doesn't help that blood pressure go down a little bit. And then you have to figure out, right, whatever was the problem that happened at work, then you got to like start working on those channels, and hopefully you have other supports that I know you're going to learn about this week of who you can talk to, what can you do. And never try to hide yourself in who you are, but advocate and say, this is how I am, I want to work with you. These are the pieces of how I want to find a solution. And that's a way bigger conversation that you will get not only through this week, but through life. I don't have an answer. And it is 9:30, and I don't want to abruptly leave you, but I feel like what I have to say happened, and Nicole is here. And so we're going to switch, and you get a lot of speakers this morning. It's actually great.